Hi everyone, welcome back to my second video. In today's video, I'm going to be making a stepping stool. So this is all the materials that I'm going to be using for that project here. First, I'm going to be cutting down the top part of the stepping stool with the 2x4s, cutting it down to the size. Then I'm going to be cutting down these to size for the legs. So let's get to cutting. Alright, I'm right here at the table saw. Now I'm going to be cutting down this one is down to 1 inch at least, or 1.5 inches. So that way I have more material to work with. And then after that I'm gonna go to the planer and plane them down to a smooth surface so I can glue them together. Now after cutting all the wood down to the size that I needed, same as the top part, I'm going to be going through the planer here and kind of smooth these out. After that, I'm going to be gluing these first before I start gluing these ones. After done planing down these 2x4s up down to 1 inch of thickness, now it's time for me to do the other part. And I'm going to cut down these strips to a smooth finish. Then I'll be gluing them together so I can have the width of the legs for the project. Alright, after planing all the little strips and planing the top and planing the 2x4s, I'm going to be joining these two, not these two, I'm going to be joining these three together in order to get a board. Then I'm going to be gluing these two together for the legs. So I'm going to do that right now. Alright, I'm here at the gluing station. I'm going to be gluing these strips of wood into a 9-inch panels, so that way I can use them for the legs for the second stool project. Then I'm also going to be gluing the 2x4s into 1 is at least 10 inches wide and 16 inches long. So that way I can actually start putting it together and start putting it together and finishing it. So I'm going to glue these first, then I'll be gluing these two together. So let's do this. Now after gluing up the strips, I realized I accidentally left out a few pieces, and I got this um, small 5-inch piece there, so I'm gonna have to glue it. But I also realized that this panel is not actually long enough to get 2 legs that are out of it, so I'm going to have to cut more strips. I already have the wood here. Gonna cut them up, go to the planer, and just glue them together. So I'm gonna do that right now. So this one turned out the way I actually expected. I might have to go through the planer too, so that way this can be much more smoother and flat, as there are bit bumps here, here, and here. But overall, it's a nearly nice flat piece of board. So I'm gonna cut the strips now, and I'm gonna plane this too. All right. After gluing the extra new strips to this board and flattening this panel, I'm gonna go to the table saw and got myself a new blade so I can get much more clean cuts, as this is meant for a smoother cut. And I'm going to be cutting the biggest panel here in 9-inch, so that way I can take it to my planer so I can plane it down. And after that, I'm going to cut this to the size same as this one, in order to get all the pieces that I need in order to finish the project. So I'm going to cut this first into the size, then I'm going to recut this one to the size that I need, and have everything I need to finish the project. So let's do this. Alright, I'm here at my miter saw. I already finished planing now the boards, these 2 boards down to the length, down to the thickness that I need. Now it's time for me to cut all these 3 panels into the right dimensions, as you can see here on the screen, so I can have everything I need before I start putting it together. So here we go. All right, I already cut everything down. This is mostly what it's going to look like. Obviously, it's not actually done. I still need to sand it, cut it down to size, sand it, screw it together, and finish it. But when I realized when I put it together, it's a little bit too tall. So I'm thinking of, instead of having the end grain going up, the end grain, it's not the end grain, of having the board being going up, I'm gonna put the legs on the side. Here, it's best that I show you. So basically what I'm saying is that I flip this on its side and put this on the top, and it's not that big, but it still feels like it's big. So I might actually cut down the legs about 1 more inch or two, and that way it can have a proper stepping stool. I miscalculated it, but that's alright. We all make mistakes here. But instead of having just like looking like just a normal stepping stool, what I'm gonna do is, after I cut it down to size, I'm going to glue these two strips of wood here together, so I can have at least 1 inch by 1 inch, a long strip, so that way I can have it somewhat like this to give a little bit more support, so that way it kind of won't bowed in the middle. Then I'm also gonna, instead of having just boring ass legs like here, I'm gonna do like a little curve legs here, so that way it can look much better, instead of having just these boring, like I said, these boring ass um, legs, and have a bit of more design. So, but instead I'll just, so yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. First, I'm gonna plane these two, glue them together. Then I'm gonna recut these for about 2 inches, because they're too tall. And then I'm gonna draw out the half circle here on both sides, cut them out, and that way you can have much better looking legs, instead of having just one plain board. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. All right, I have everything I need to finish the project. I already cut down the material on the length that I actually needed by 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. So now it's time for me to put it all together. So I'm going to put in the legs just like this on the side, and mount this here by using a joint called a housing joint, so that way it can lock in together and be structurally sound, so that way I don't have to use so much glue and make a lot of mess. Then after that, I'm gonna flip this over on the actual panel here, screw it in, and show how it looks before I start sanding, and before I start cutting a half circle here and here, like I said before, in order so that way I don't have really boring ass legs for it. So let's do that. After cutting out the notches here so I can put this here in the middle, I'm going to dry fit it and I'll show you how it's going to look at the end. Now that is how it's going to look like at the end. So I'm actually happy how it turns out. Alright, I took the liberty on drawing out the actual half circle on my piece here, so roughly it would look like this when it's finished. I just used the regular dog lid or dog food lid, so you can pretty much use anything that has a circular surface just close to the half point of the lid and just draw it out. Now usually I will cut these out with a bandsaw that I have right here. Let me show you that I have right here, but if you noticed, there is no blade because I was working on a different project and the blade snapped. So I'm gonna cut these half circles by hand by using my... Hi there, sorry for the interruption, folks. While I was recording this part of the video, I came to the realization that I had a jigsaw to cut out the half circles. So instead of cutting them by hand, I decided to use my jigsaw. Sometimes I actually forget that I have tools that does the job, and the reason why there's no footage of it is because I was freezing my butt off and I didn't want to be outside for much longer, so that's why you don't see any footage here. Sorry about that, bros. I have all the pieces here that I already finished. Now I'm going to go through my hand sander, my palm sander actually, with the 80 grit first to all of them to prep it. Then I'm going to use my palm sander here from DeWalt, just so up to 120 grit to 220 grit. So that way I can have a fine finish, and before I start putting before I start staining it. So let's do that. Alright, I have everything ready. I already sanded this. I already sanded everything up to 220 grit. Now I'm going to be installing this 1-inch here together, just like so. Then I'm going to be using my cordless drill here to drill holes here, so that way I can put the screws in. After that, I'm going to be putting a little amount of glue here for extra security. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Then after that, I'm going to go, after screwing and gluing these two together, I'm going to screw the legs to here, so that way I don't have to use a bunch of glue and waste and make a whole mess and try to sand it out. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm already at the home stretch. After all of that, I'm going to be staining this entire piece and I'm going to be finished. So let's get to it. Alright, I'm here at the final stages of the project. I'm going to be staining the top with this classic golden oak wood stain. Then I'm going to be staining the legs with this polyurethane oil-based stain, clear stain. So that way and actually look really beautiful and probably turn out pretty good. So let's do this. If you can barely hear my voice, it's because my brother is actually cleaning his own car. So that's why you hear like a big loud voice here next to the camera, so you can hear and pick up my, so you can hear my voice. So sorry about the noise in the background. But yeah, I'm gonna be staining the top part with the golden oak, then the legs with this polyurethane oil base, and we finish with this process. So let's do this. Thanks for watching the video on how I make a stepping stool. Please leave a like, subscribe for new videos, and leave a comment down below on any tricks I can actually improve upon on my woodworking skills. Follow me on my social media for new videos and pictures for upcoming projects down in the description. See you guys in the next video, and see you guys next time. Ciao.